Hey everyone, today we are going to be doing a video that I'm going to probably title Gimmick or Godsend, and that is going to be this episode about the magazine release that I just installed on my C308. Well, when I say just, I mean a couple months ago, but today was the day we're actually going to be doing the video on it, and this is specifically the Tac Latch that you can get through hkparts.net. Supposed to make it significantly easier for those of you with HK91 style rifles like a C308 or PTR 91 prior to them installing the paddle mag releases on the PTRs. So basically the way it works, and I'll show this in a close-up video, you press in, if you're a right-handed shooter, with your left thumb, press inward towards the right side of the firearm, and that will release the mag release so you can strip the magazine out. The question is it any better than having to do it in some weird wonky way with your regular C308 or PTR91 without the paddle? So what we did is a couple tests where we loaded up this Rhodesian style chest rig with mags, and we ran 5 magazines, 1 in the gun, 4 in the chest rig, to see how easy it was to swap out magazines as we go. Yes, I went ahead and did it twice. Once using the Tac Latch, once doing just kind of reaching around with my firing hand. Anyway, just to kind of get a time comparison, I tried to load the same number of rounds. The problem was I intentionally loaded different numbers in the mag so that I couldn't anticipate, I couldn't count my rounds and gamify it that way. I wanted to A, have us shooting at a steel target so that we're focused on actually hitting something, and then, which we may or may not have done well. And then I didn't want to gamify it, so we wanted to make sure we felt that click so that we knew when to change mags. So we're going to go ahead and, I guess, run the footage of that kind of basic testing in now, and we'll come up and kind of wrap up our thoughts about the Tac Latch and whether it's worth it or not for you. Embarrassing. That's a little bit better. I'm getting better as I go. You can do it. Oh yeah, it hits What's that seal with authority?
Ah!
What do you think of the mag release?
I hate it. I hate it more than I hate a lot of things. I hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it.
All right, so you know better than I do at this point what the time difference was between the Tac Latch and just reaching around with my firing hand. I can say the more positive method for me was using the Tac Latch, but you'll see the side-by-side footage. So again, you know better than I do. It felt pretty close, to be completely honest with you. And that's probably because I spent so much time prior to the Tac Latch getting used to using my firing hand to release those magazines. But this was really your first time using this.
Yes.
And I think you have a little bit more passionate feelings towards this thing.
I've got a little bit of fire, yeah.
So what are your thoughts on the Tac Latch?
I absolutely hate it.
Okay.
Absolutely hate it. First off, it's super stiff.
Yes.
So it is you've really got to shove that with your thumb.
Yes.
And there's not enough meat there to put the pad of your thumb, which is what you're supposed to push things with.
Sure.
You got to push it with the very point of your thumb.
Yeah.
So you're shoving the very point of your thumb into a very stiff leather, and after the first one or two, it's painful.
Yeah.
It's painful. Plus,
got sharp edges.
You can't get. I mean, your thumb is stronger when you're doing that than when you're doing this. So you're reducing your ability to push the thing as well, and it ain't easy to push.
Yeah.
So you're fighting with that thing, and then you got to rip the thing out there, and it's just your hand gets all. And I don't have great hands, obviously.
But that is your good hand.
That is my good hand still, and I feel like I've ruined it. I think I've even deformed my fingernail
from doing that.
from pushing this thing. But what I found is that as far as this thing goes, you have to really push it in.
Yeah.
And there's a spot where you feel like you've got it all the way pushed in, but it's not, and you can't pull that out. It still hangs out. So you got to give it another real hard shove at about a 1/16 of an inch, and then you can rip that thing out of there. But if you're trying to do it quick,
Yeah.
and you're trying to rip that out of there quick, you hit that stop, that natural stop point on it, and you think, okay, got it. And that ain't doing nothing. That really bugged the crap out of me.
Yeah, and believe it or not, that's actually gotten better as time has gone on. And I think part of that is because, as you can see, this is the FDE version of the C308, and the actual FDE coating is on the inside of the magwell as well. So I think when I first installed it, it's having to scrape away that finish, so it had the smooth metal behind it. So it was actually even worse at the beginning. Now, that said, I think I'm going to be a little bit more charitable towards it. However, I still think it is not ideal. And one really easy way to tell that it's not ideal is I don't know a single firearm which is designed to be intended to have the magazines released that way. That there's a reason it's either pushing in a switch or a paddle style to remove it, like the AK-74 that we were testing out earlier today. Any other AKs, the other HKs designs have that paddle because it's way easier to do it that way.
Way easier.
But again, it's definitely better for a right-handed person. It's almost impossible to use as a lefty. However, I would argue as a lefty, you'd probably be easier hitting that mag release button the way it was designed in this case. But again, I think a paddle is infinitely better. So I paid, I think, about $65 to $70 for all the parts to install that. And I paid full retail price. I actually did even ask for a discount, and they said no, which is in no way affecting my opinion here.
It's fine.
Because I get that a lot, trust me. But I think, and I guess just for reference, if you wanted to send out your C308 or PTR91 to have an actual paddle mag release installed, it would cost roughly $120. So you're spending about half of that to install the Tac Latch. However, I would argue you're getting less than half the functionality of a paddle when you use the Tac Latch. Again, it's, I would say, better than the regular mag release. It's a lot more positive. You can maintain a good fire control grip on the gun and use your support hand to remove those magazines. But it would be infinitely better to have the paddle mag release. Again, just demonstrated by firearms designs as time has gone on. There's a reason no firearm, to my knowledge, is made to work that way. So I think I know what you would say, but if you had a C308, would you recommend putting a Tac Latch on there? Or would you save the money and get a paddle?
I wouldn't recommend it. I'd save and get the paddle. The paddle is a proven device.
Yeah.
It's on several different firearms, and it works, and it works. And it's a natural thing to hit that and rip.
Yeah.
This thing is two different directions that you're having to go. You're having to go in here and then try to pull that down while still holding it out. If you let that go just a little bit, it locks back up.
Yeah.
Because it's a hair's width of release width on that. I mean, if they like angled it out to the left so that you had a little bit more distance to travel before your thumb was fully extended, that might help out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that actually would probably help out good. But I would go with the paddle.
Yeah. And honestly, like, especially when it first came, if you didn't run it with gloves on, you were going to chew your thumb up because it has really sharp edges on it.
Gloves on.
You had,
thumb up anyway.
exactly. It's got really sharp edges on it. So while we're out here doing a couple mag changes, it's not a huge deal. Obviously not fun, but not a huge deal. If I was taking a class, a 2-day class, where I'm going to be reloading all day long, my thumb would be destroyed by the end of it.
Yeah, hitchhiking is right out.
Yeah, exactly. So my recommendation is either save the money and just learn how to run it with just the button mag release, which is in the worst possible place.
It is.
Or save the money and have someone professionally install a paddle mag release. Or if you buy a PTR 91 now, I'm pretty sure all the new PTR models have the paddle installed from the factory, so you don't even have to worry about it. But if you have one of the older models, or you have a C308, or some other set me that doesn't have the paddle mag release, I would say it's worth saving up to install the paddle mag release. Because honestly, I feel like I might have wasted $70 because now all I want to do is have someone install the paddle on it.
Yeah.
So if anyone's wanting to buy a Tac Latch, hit me up.
Tac Latch is great. Y'all should totally buy one.
So good. But again, that's just my opinion on it. Again, I know there are people out there who like it. It's really hard to find stuff online video-wise on it. I think there's one other video that was made 4 years ago about it. And I guess it's worth mentioning in comparison to that guy's video, I had to make no modifications to the gun to get that thing to install. It just dropped right in. Fairly easy install. And they have two different versions, one for PTR, one for 308s and HK91s. Contact hkparts.net and they will tell you, like, tell them what you have. They'll tell you what you need, so you don't even have to worry about it. But again, that's just our take on it. I think it's just not worth it, honestly, for the added functionality. Because again, having gotten used to coming around with my middle finger, I feel like it was probably about the same time as it was using the Tac Latch. And I think we both decided the Rhodesian style chest rigs are not the most ergonomic as far as presenting mags to be used. No. But it's also better than trying to put mags in your pockets.
Kinda?
A little bit.
Kinda?
Somewhat. Depends on what type of pants you're wearing, I guess.
I mean, it makes it look like you're cosplaying for North Africa, but, you know.
Yeah. So again, you can obviously make the decision for yourself. But my input is, and I think your input would be as well, having used my MP5 clone, which has a paddle mag release.
I had paddle mag releases on a lot of weapons that I fired, and they work great.
Yep.
This does not. I mean, I think, and in closing, if this was to not completely bash the company, because it's a okay idea, if they were to like angle it or give you just a little bit more to push, a little bit longer ability to push it from, you know what I'm trying to say? Instead of having to completely push the thumb out. The travel is just too far. Yeah. And maybe angle it toward the left, and that would help it out a lot.
Yeah.
Some slight modifications would make this work pretty well.
Yeah.
But in its current form, I wouldn't touch it.
One thing I will say to its benefit is if you're wearing a chest rig, especially a more modern one that has maybe more things sticking out on it, it's not going to get caught on anything. You're never going to accidentally actuate your mag release with that installed because it is in line with the axis of the gun. There's nothing really sticking out. That said, I also don't think a pedal would actually catch on things either. But for what it's worth, I think that's probably less likely to catch on things.
If they're crawling through bundles of wool, perhaps.
Yeah. So, again, that's just our take on it. If you have one and you like it, definitely share your experiences in the comments because we want as much of a diverse experience set as possible. That's always the best way to make decisions, is to look at as many resources as possible. You should never take mine or Christian's word as gospel.
Never take my word for anything.
Absolutely. So, again, try to read up on it, watch other videos on it. If you have experience, share it below. But I think it's pretty clear where we stand. I would. So on the scale of Gimmick to Godsend, where would you put it?
That's a gimmick.
You put it pretty far on the Gimmick end?
I put it down as a gimmick. It doesn't. It literally doesn't enhance the functionality of this weapon in the slightest.
Yeah. Again, I will say that it
To
does
me.
maintain a good positive fire control grip, as we're used to with our Western shooting styles. But I don't see much actual improvement. And again, we're also shooting standing in one spot on a square range. If we were doing some sort of more activity-based shooting, maybe the difference would be more pronounced, but I still kind of doubt it.
I can't see a single situation where it'd be beneficial to have a harder time dumping your mag.
Yeah. Again, especially if you're doing an all-day shoot where you're changing mags like crazy, that's just not going to work at all.
My thumb still hurts.
Yeah, I can still feel it as well, but I wasn't wearing gloves. And anyway, so I think we've probably beaten that horse.
We have beaten this horse. The horse is dead.
So I want to say thanks to my patrons for making a video like this possible, using their funds to be able to purchase ammo, to be able to run through a test like this. And I paid out of pocket for the Tac Latch a couple months ago. And again, I think I'll save up and have someone install a actual paddle release, because I think that's just going to make this gun infinitely more usable, because that's the way they're designed to work. So if you are interested in becoming a patron, I'll have a link down below. We do all the content there early. We do some exclusive content over there, as well as doing live streams and giveaways, and that's where I also get my questions from for question and answer videos, which I need to do one of those again here soon. But anyway, with all that said, as always, I hope you're able to get something out of this video, and I really appreciate you watching.
You know something funny?
Yeah.
In the framing right here, you look like you're wearing hip waders.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's like we're
Because
fishing.
it just, and it
Fishing with
looks
rifles.
like these continue
That
down.
would make a good video.
I don't know how well that would work, because I don't know how deep it would penetrate into the water. It's like
That
when you
is
watch
not the point.
when you watch the guys who fish with bow and arrow, like, that is insane.
Yeah, that's hardly the point. Fishing with firearms. Fishing with bow and arrow. Everybody's done that. Fishing with firearms.
I'm sure people have fished with firearms.
Well, I'm sure people have shot fish. We can get a barrel.
Post in the comments below if that's something you want to see. It's probably not going to happen either way, though. We'll see.
Fine.